Hey guys, D.Bowie here, and this is a video on the viability of the new AGHS scepters. The first scepter we're going to talk about is Slark. It was not uncommon to see professional players buying Refresher on Slark to have double Shadow Dance and double Abyssal. While the AGHS doesn't allow you to increase the duration of the ult or to have 2 disables, it has a lot of benefits, like bigger uptime, more stats, it's cheaper, and the versatility of having AoE Shadow Dance shouldn't be underestimated. When I first read the AGHS, I thought that your allies would get the extra regen from Shadow Dance when they were in the ult. That would be completely broken when combined with the cooldown reduction, but relax, they only get hidden. I feel like the item is actually great. It allows Slark to fight more often and thus stack more essence shifts. Scepter is definitely good, as a third, probably fourth item slot on him. I feel like of all the AGHS released, this one is the one that should be bought more often, because not only the effects are great overall, it's one of those items that synergize very well with the new backpack mechanic. You can literally exchange your boots with Scepter a little bit before the fight starts, use your ult, exchange it right after casting it, and the cooldown will still be 30 seconds. Scepter is an item that sometimes don't suit late game cores because you would usually want something greedier as your 6 item slot. That's not the case for Slark though. Sniper has an AGHS. Crazy stuff. Is this AGHS viable? I do feel like it's a decent upgrade, there are tons of benefits. If you have enough damage items on you, you could assassinate from very far away to dissuade them from taking your barracks, from taking your tower. You can actually aim your tower from the fountain. It could also be decent with wombo combo heroes like Magnus, Enigma, Tidehunter, even Axe or Slardar would suffice. But to be honest, unless you have Rapiers, I feel like AGHS is an item slot that gives you stuff Sniper doesn't really want, HP and mana, while at the same time it's one less item slot with items that could increase your DPS. Consider this item build. It takes close to 3 seconds for a Sniper to land Assassinate, and the damage really feels underwhelming. This is a level 25 Pudge with no armor and items whatsoever. At the same time, look how much damage he can deal in 3 seconds with the same item build. Without AGHS, actually he deals way more damage than that. So yeah, I feel like it could have some very late game uses with Rapier, especially if the AGHS was gifted, and with wombo combo strats, but besides that the item feels kinda bad. At first I thought Anti-Mage's AGHS was crazy broken, since it seemed like the answer to pretty much all the problems Anti-Mage faces. But that's not true. At the same time though, I definitely feel like the item is viable. First, let's talk about why I think the item doesn't really make the hero OP or doesn't solve all of his problems. To me, the 4 big counters to Anti-Mage are Meepo, PA, Legion Commander, and Bloodseeker. These are heroes you pick to destroy his game. How does Anti-Mage Scepter deal with those heroes? Meepo doesn't really care about it. You would think that Legion would get countered, but since the AGHS reflects the dual back, in reality is pretty useless against Legion, and you would be better off going Linken's. You do reflect PA's dagger back to her, but she has a blink ability and usually reflecting dagger is not what will save you against her. Also, Phantom Assassin has a way faster tempo than Anti-Mage. She will have her Desolator way before you have your AGHS, so it's not that big of a deal to be honest. Bloodseeker is a hero that in theory would get hurt a lot by AMX, and I feel like in a mid to late game scenario that's true. But Bloodseeker's tempo, as PA, is way faster than AM's. If Bloodseeker plays correctly, he should be able to shut you down pretty hard, and we can agree that rushing Scepter only to deal with Bloodseeker is bad by itself. The item though can be viable against teams with poor initiation, where the ability to kill you solely depend on 1 or 2 heroes. Then the item can be very strong. The item is a good counter to a niche of supports that can deal reasonably well with Anti-Mage, like Kunkka, Shadow Demon, Lion, Bane, Night Stalker. I don't want to add Spirit Breaker here because he, like Bloodseeker, has a faster tempo, and I feel like usually if AM survived the early game against the hero, usually he wouldn't need the Scepter anyways. Bounty Hunter Scepter is interesting, but I feel like it's underwhelming. Probably to balance out the fact that he is one support hero that can farm a lot of gold thanks to track. When you think of it in raw terms, it is indeed pretty strong. It could deal 700 damage on each hero in the teamfight while stunning them for 120 mana. The problem though is the build-up. What usually snowballs Bounty Hunter is the fact that you can get a lot of kills while you farm your pipe or mech, and the sustain from those items propels your team to get objectives after winning more teamfights that also give you more gold. Rushing Aghs in the hero has tons of risks. The main one is feeling like your team can take any fight, when in reality, since you have 2 or 3k gold in your inventory, that doesn't benefit your team at all. Then you lose teamfight after teamfight because you didn't spend that early gold in items that could help your team keep the momentum up. Bounty Hunter has a power spike similar to Pudge. Until 10 to 15 minutes, when all the heroes are spread out, you can engage alone and with the help of a teammate secure kills. You can't do that after 10 to 15 minutes, unless you're completely in control of the game, and that's why Bounty Hunters go for defensive items to help their team, since he will play very far back just using track and eventually shuriken. I feel like the item is a decent late game purchase after you have the items you feel are core in that game, but to me, you won't see a lot of competitive play. Chaos Knight Scepter is a complete charade to me. While it could be decent for core Chaos Knights, the only added benefit you would get is the 20-second cooldown reduction and some stats, and in my opinion you would be better off buying Octarine core on him. Not only the cooldown reduction is bigger, but you also get more HP, mana, and the spell lifesteal. So what I get from that is that IceFrog really wants to promote support Chaos Knight. Not that he wants core Chaos Knight to stop existing, but he is giving us an option. Chaos Knight as a hero seems to be pretty strong this patch, and unlike most supports, he can rush Aghs without feeling too squishy and dying all the time. In all honesty, he does benefit from getting an early point booster with the HP and mana. I don't feel like the item is going to be core all the time, especially when the enemy has ways of dealing with illusions, but I can tell you guys that I did lose one game to a support Chaos Knight that created 4 illusions of Luna and got mega creeps after winning just one fight against our team. Illusions did get nerfed, but Chaos Knight illusions feel more like heroes since they are so bulky and deal so much damage. Another interesting aspect is how the illusions act like they are Chaos Knight illusions. You can reality rift with the ones you created for your allies, and considering his level 25 talent, there is a lot of potential in killing BKB heroes super fast with those strong illusions you made from your allies. Time will tell whether Scepter is viable or not. I do feel like it's only good in support CK or if an alchemist gives it to a core Chaos Knight though. Phantom Lancer got a Scepter. To me this is one of the hardest ones to talk about. Does the Scepter concept looks interesting? Definitely. It could be used as a way to deal with pushes. Usually you will need to commit Manta illusions or Dope Walking illusions to send them to deal with the lane creeps against a push, and that could hinder your fighting power if the enemy fought right away. In the late game, Spirit Lance is your least important skill, so being able to use it to defend your base without committing defensive items is very interesting. Especially now that Phantom Rush gives your illusions agility, you could spawn 5 illusions easily in the creep wave and then completely harass a support or a mana dependent core right away. The thing though is that Diffusal got nerfed, illusions got nerfed, Quelling Blade was nerfed, and the tempo of the game seems to be even higher than it was before. And in the last patch, PL seemed pretty underwhelming, not only because Sven, Luna and Invoker were pretty common, but also because he took too long to farm Diffusal plus 1 item to be able to fight, while he also doesn't farm as fast as the old PL farmed. I don't feel like any of the changes really make up for that, in fact they make it a little bit worse. Is Aghs viable on PL? Yeah, I feel like the effect is worth the gold, but the item itself doesn't make PL viable, which is a problem in itself. Pocket Riki is real. It's pretty cool to see that IceFrog really listens to the community, sometimes adding stuff to the game that probably no one ever thought it was viable, besides as a shitpost on Reddit. Believe it or not, I feel like this is one of the most viable scepters right now. Riki as a support is a very weird hero. If you're really ahead, Diffusal Blade is a great item on him, turning him into a great DPS asset to your team. But there are times when you're just not ahead enough to go Diffusal. Also, you can't forget that Diffusal Blade got nerfed, and one of the greatest things as a support Riki was purging dust and other debuffs when people try to kill you. Aghs solves some of the mana problems Riki has. It also gives him a way of applying Normal Venom and Blightstone to everyone in the fight for a long time without the risk of getting caught. It works as an escape mechanism since the cast range is so big, and the cooldown is not very prohibitive. And it's even a way of initiating. You could ult a Lifestealer, then infest Batrider, and suddenly you're zoning everyone with your ult if they want to blink on Bat for instance, and there's always the possibility of having that instant smoke screen follow-up that wasn't possible before unless you went blink, which is decent on Riki but makes him very squishy and doesn't deal with his low mana and HP. This is a good item for sure. Not an Aghs for every game, which I feel like it's the way it should be for most heroes, and at the same time complements the hero in a meaningful and interesting way. Well, this wraps up for today. If you enjoyed this video, please guys give it a thumbs up, it helps a lot. If you want to see the extended version of this video, please check the link in the description. And I can't overstate how this video would never be possible without the huge help from the plugin guys, so please show them some love. And if you're new to my channel, subscribe to it. I'm making videos like this almost every day, and I'm sure something here will spark your interest. The first big name is definitely Slark. He was pretty much picked or banned every game. Roaming is something very favored in this patch, and with the available experience around the map, Slark can make up for being bad in zoning offlaners by having tremendous rotating power and having a very strong level 6. In the last patch, it was relatively common to have supports being level 5 at 12 minutes, even 14 minutes sometimes. And that really hurted Slark's support, since if you got crushed in the lane, you were damned during the rest of the game. This is hardly the case anymore, and this is probably why Slark shifted from the offlane to the support.